All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. We have the Wednesday live stream here for you guys, a 6-game slate. Just as an FYI, I know that we got about 10 or so people in here right now. If my audio is bad, just please let me know. I think we got it fixed, but just let us know. But Chuck, welcome on in. What are your thoughts on this Wednesday slate?
It's a nice little 6-gamer. You know, yesterday was a lot of games. Thought yesterday was a pretty good slate, though. Worked out a little bit, but today, I don't know. We have some questionables that are definitely going to affect the slate, and so hopefully we get some word before lock. Maybe we won't, but maybe it's a good practice for Friday's no late swap.
For real, yeah. And we're just going to keep bringing that up. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Are you excited for that, or just kind of in between? Like, I feel like for you, it's not a good thing with the time zone.
Specifically for this Friday, I'm leaving on a road trip around like an hour after lock. So for me on Friday, it's a great thing. But in general, I don't know. I feel like, you know, late swap is an edge. Enough people don't use it, right? But I don't know if I'm going to predict guys being in or out before the slate starts or before lock, then I think that I'm probably going to do it better than the field. And Petty Theft is one of the top NBA DFS players, and he said something like he thinks his biggest edge is before the slate locks. So not saying that I have as big as an edge of him, but just something to consider. That if you're really good at you know, doing stuff with the news or just diving into the news, then you could still do pretty well.
No, I'm right there with you. And like just like looking at like prop betting wise, I know it's kind of a different thing, but you can sometimes gain an edge just by, like, let's say, I don't know, for example, Rudy Gobert is questionable. Like if he was out, you could kind of game theory a good slip based off of that. It's the same thing, DFS wise. So I'm excited to be able to like double dip in that way, but it'll be fun. But looking at today's slate, we are getting some chalky ownership right away. Norman Powell, Andre Drummond, Jordan Goodwin. Initial thoughts there. Are you getting to any of those guys?
So I wasn't sure about Jordan Goodwin because I think when I was going through his stuff, it's either last night or this morning, I wasn't even sure if he was in the rotation right now.
Yeah, looking at it though, it's going to be people are just jumping on because Contra's still out, Pippen's out, Smart's out, and Luke Kennard, who was active yesterday, is going to be out as well. So I think people are just naturally trying to play Jordan Goodwin, and he hasn't really gotten a big price bump. But at the same time, they, in a weird way, they are kind of healthier than when, like, 2 weeks ago when we were jamming in Jordan Goodwin.
Yeah, do you know? So he hasn't played since February 15th. And
Did he not play last night?
Yeah, he has. Well, maybe he played yesterday. But when I was looking it up, I guess before yesterday's game, he hadn't played in 2 weeks. So as long as he played yesterday, then he seems fine.
Well, I know he had to sign a 2-way contract. His 10-day was up with them, and so I know that happened recently. I am looking. He was doesn't look like he played in the last game. So I think the expectation is with those guys out, specifically Luke Kennard, that he's going to be the go-to guy. So that's one of those things where we should get the information before lineup lock. It is somewhat earlier of a game, but you know, a little bit after lineup lock as well. So we will see there.
Yeah, I think as long as he starts, he's probably fine. But if he doesn't start, then we are risking a DNP. But I mean, if he does play, he'd still be fine play off the bench. It's just a matter of taking that risk, I guess.
Yeah, and I have it pulled up. Like, what are your thoughts on Derrick Rose at almost the min price 3.4? We don't have him projected to get a lot of minutes, but 16 minutes, Derrick Rose at 3.4. Like, I don't know. I know he's old and all, but I'm still kind of intrigued by that.
So on most slates, I'm never going to be interested in Derrick Rose at this point. It's just unfortunate. But on today's slate, I don't hate it. I actually did get to a few percent of Derrick Rose in my runs. I didn't think I was going to, but the pricing was a little bit weirder on DraftKings today than it is usually. Yeah. Or maybe just my lineups look a little bit weirder than usual.
Yeah. And then kind of some other spots where we're waiting on news or getting news. The Pelicans, they're all banged up. We got to see what's going to happen. McCollum's game time decision, Brandon Ingram game time decision, Zion a game time decision. With that, like, it's going to be tough for us to touch on it. I mean, do you like any of them? They all feel a little bit too cheap. If one of them sits, they're all too cheap, but they all feel too cheap on the slate.
Yeah, I'm seeing Trey Murphy's a Q tag too, and if he sits, it doesn't really affect the big three too much. But if Zion, Brandon Ingram, or CJ sit, then we probably just like whoever plays, especially Zion. Just point Zion. He was not good yesterday, but that was like the first not good game he's had in I don't know, a few games. So
Yeah.
just whoever plays is going to look pretty great here.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And that kind of, I'm guessing, we got a comment here from Emma saying, not a good night last night. I'm guessing that's a Zion comment right there because, it was a weird night for me. Like I only did like 7 or so lineups. A few of them were terrible, just so bad. And Zion was in all of them. Then some other ones, it was just weird lineup path. The other ones were pretty good. It was a weird night with the discrepancies with it for hand building. Like it shouldn't be that great typically, but it was up and down for sure.
Yeah, I like slates like yesterday's though, but
yeah,
even if it doesn't result in a tournament win.
No, they were fun. It was a fun slate for sure. Let's see here. Any other kind of injury spots? Like Dallas seems healthy. We are waiting on Jakob Poeltl news here. Minnesota's still banged up. Ant-Man is a game time decision. Rudy Gobert, game time decision. Kyle Anderson is out. I don't know. Does that change anything for you?
Poeltl, we just got confirmation he will play today.
Okay, perfect.
And then with the Timberwolves, I can't believe Anthony Edwards came back in the game yesterday, dude. I was worried that his season was going to be impacted, but he came back in and he was still awesome. So we'll have to see what happens with him today.
That's like the third time though this year, isn't it? Where like, oh gosh, Minnesota fans are like freaking out.
Oh, I don't remember. If it's a regular thing, then hopefully that they weren't too worried about it when it happened.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried when it happened. I hate to see young stars get hurt like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they look fine. I don't know. The chalk is so concentrated; it's kind of tough.
It's a weird chalk day for sure, because we're almost forced. Well, let's just touch on that. We're almost forced into playing the chalk tonight because of how concentrated it is, especially on the top end. Like Powell, Drummond, Jordan Goodwin, and then even James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. Like all of the Clippers are a little bit too cheap. And that's what we'll get into here. Paul George is out. So that's really the biggest piece of news that we have. But yeah, are we just eating that chalk for the Clippers?
I think so. It's just a matter of, I don't know. We don't want 5 Clippers in our lineups on DraftKings, right? But even if we limit it to 4, that seems fine, I think. I mean, they're going against the Lakers. It should be easy for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, a decent game total. I mean, not crazy, but not bad. Not a game like we're worried about. So it's definitely not a minus. And at their prices, they all feel, again, too cheap.
Yeah, we see a situation a lot where one team has a star missing or something, and so they're the chalk, and then the Lakers' ownership is coming in so low. And so if we're playing 3 to 4 Clippers, even 2 Clippers in our lineups, I think we want to get over on the Lakers a little bit. I mean, D'Lo, LeBron, AD, even Austin Reeves, like these are all good plays at their ownerships.
Yeah, actually, I like that call. That's a thought I hadn't gone to today yet, so I like that call. And yeah, they're too cheap. AD, it's just I don't get it. I don't get why he's never consistently over 10K. It's weird.
Because he's never consistently scoring high fantasy points.
I guess, yeah. Let's get into some questions, then we'll get into the position by position breakdown here. So, let's see. Fox? Question mark.
He's been so good recently after being so bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's cheap. That's for sure. Like, I don't know. Like, it just, the Kings, I just don't like trusting right now. Or just this season, it feels like. But he is cheap.
I mean, 8,500 on DraftKings, a 10% ownership, like, in what's projected to be, it's not a blowout, 7.5 points. I'll definitely be over the field on De'Aaron Fox tonight.
Yeah. What about on FanDuel where he's really priced up?
9,800. I mean, that's one of those plays where you're probably paying a little bit too much for the low ownership. Not sure I would be getting there too much on FanDuel, but if I had 150, I'd still be getting some percent of him.
Yeah. I will say, like, in comparison to FanDuel, we can see that Kevin Huerter too cheap, Monk a little bit too cheap. I mean, pretty cheap. But Keegan Murray too cheap. He was in your GPP way in lineup the other night, right? I know he's in Smitty's, but
no, he wasn't.
Really?
I deliberately faded him, which scoped me.
That's funny. That was in the other 2 that we had, so that's actually hilarious.
No, it's funny. I had other lineups close to the top, and this dude, Keegan Murray, right? This dude hit a 3, got a steal, hit another 3, hit another 3, then got a steal and a dunk, and I just watched, like, I went from like 5th place to 38th in the span of a minute, and it was this
Dude,
guy. He's been bad lately, and then he just blows up randomly sometimes. So
that's the Kings thing. You gotta. It's the rule. I'm telling you. You gotta have at least one of Herter, Murray, or Monk in your builds.
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Harden is due, and especially tonight. Yeah, like this should be a good game for Harden. I would say the only reason why Harden wouldn't get there is one Kawhi going off, or maybe it's a Westbrook type of night. But I just that feels a little bit too thin. We have seen Westbrook go off occasionally, but that's really only when someone else is out. But yeah, Harden hasn't been bad. Like he's just going to get a slight bump in usage, shoot the basketball a little bit better tonight is really what we need.
It's funny you mentioned Westbrook right now because when I was putting my player props right before the stream, I wanted to take his unders. A couple of his unders look pretty good, but I can't do it against the Lakers. Like we talk about revenge games, this is the revenge game, right?
Yeah, I mean he's played against them before, right?
Yeah, but especially with Paul George out, I mean he's still not playing that many minutes, but. I don't know. I feel like he's going to get up. I'm pretty sure he had a good game against the Lakers last time.
I mean, he's one of those guys where he's pretty motivated. Last game against the Lakers, 18 minutes, 32 fantasy points. So even as price tag here, that's pretty good. He played 19 minutes, 15. Like that's still enough if he gets, a little bit more run in this game. So yeah, I would say he's certainly in play.
Yeah, he had a good game last time. The previous time he did not have a good game. So, like with all revenge game scripts, if you want to add something for the narrative, give him an extra 5%, maybe 10% on today's slate, but nothing more than that.
So we got a question, Andre Drummond starting ? And so this is the reason why Vucevic has actually been listed as a power forward for them. He has been starting. They've both been starting, Drummond and Vucevic. So I'm just assuming that he will. Have we seen anything?
Underdog is predicting him not to start. I don't think he started yesterday, did he?
Let's see.
They had Caruso. No, he did come off the bench yesterday, but he played 28 minutes. And so 28 minutes of Drummond, whether he's starting or not, I don't know. Like for him to be the mega chalk is probably incorrect, but I can't say to try not to play him. He looks really good. His price is fine, and the minutes are there. So
I would assume going against Cleveland, he would need to get those minutes as well. So he feels pretty safe.
They started him against Minnesota with the two bigs, so it's possible they do something like that today. And then Caruso, he went to the locker room yesterday, but he did end up. He was available to return. I don't know if he actually came back in for the last 2 minutes, but if Caruso's out, then that's weirdly like a definite boost for Drummond. So keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, and it's back to back, so maybe they do shut him down for the game as well. And then we got a couple more questions here, and then we'll jump into the guards. So Plumlee or Zubac? That's we can actually we'll pivot into centers here. We'll start with the position breakdown.
I think I cut out there for a second. You're back here, yeah, we're good now.
Yeah. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Clippers there, the bigs?
I wasn't even thinking about playing Plumlee today. Is he in the model?
I don't think so, not yet. But like, I guess Zubac is listed as questionable, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think Zubac's price is really good, especially with Paul George out. He does get a little bit extra usage, and going up against Anthony Davis, unfortunately for fantasy, that's not a bad thing. And so I think he's a pretty good play. His ownership is there. If Zubac's in, Plumlee probably doesn't even play tonight. Daniel Tice is available. Yeah. And if Zubac's out, then probably lean towards whoever starts, but Plumlee and Tice are both going to look good if Zubac is out because one of them kind of just has to play with AD.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe they both play a little bit if AD gets one of them into foul trouble. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the centers just in general. We'll begin to the rest of the comments here in just a second. So looking at it right now, again, we do have Mega Chalk on the top end. Andre Drummond, a lot of people are playing, and Zubac, a lot of people are playing. From there, it opens up a lot. You got Rudy Gobert, not too high owned. Cat, not too high owned. AD, not too high owned. Everyone is just not too high owned. Is there anyone here that sticks out to you that you want to be on, whether that be for ownership reasons, whether that be for OF index reasons, or like value reasons?
I don't mind getting over on Jokic and Sabonis a bit, but it's tough because they're the pay-ups, and then they're the one clear pay down is Zubac, I guess, Drummond, And Anson in the chat saying Drummond is starting. I'm curious if that's confirmed or if, yeah, I'm just let me know if that's confirmed from somewhere, because that would be good to know for right now. But yeah, mix it up with AD too. I mean, I don't think anyone super stands out. I kind of just want to mix it up tonight and then probably end up with a ton of Drummond.
Mm-hmm. And Nick was seconding that thing with Drummond. Biggs probably going to start going against Cleveland. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then here's just a little comment on Goodwin as well. So yeah, he signed a 2-way deal, but I don't know. It's Memphis. They're doing some weird stuff. I don't know. I get it with contract stuff. It's weird nuances to it, but it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But let's see here. I want to see if we have any other questions here. But I will say, I do like Joachim Poeltl if he's going to be active tonight. Going against Dallas, the worry is the minutes with him. I think that's obviously been a thing that we've been worrying about this whole season. Just capped. But going against Dallas, I do think at 6K, he does give us around 35 for fantasy points tonight going against Dallas. I don't know. Have you been getting on him at all?
Yeah. I've been playing him, and dude, he was in the lineup the other night. Went to the locker room, right?
With the what?
He got hurt the other night, right?
Oh, is that why he only played 22 minutes, and that's why he's questionable?
Yeah, did not finish the game, unfortunately. He was killing.
Yeah. Double in that one as well. So, I mean, that's always been the case with Joachim Poeltl. He can kind of do it all. Get rebounds, get assists, get steals.
Yeah, it's just the minutes have always been the problem. And, like, he was killing the other night. He's been great since that trade. So, if he's in, I want to fire him up.
And then let's see here. We got Derek Lively popping up as a good value play on DraftKings. Daniel Gafford slightly as well. Those are two somewhat cheap plays. Any love for those two at all?
Dude, I was looking at these two guys earlier, and I want to play Gafford, but this dude played 6 minutes yesterday. Lively played 22, and so it's just like they can play PJ Washington at center. He played 35 minutes, and so from that group, I think PJ Washington is definitely the safest because he's probably going to play the most minutes. But the other two, I think it's just too hard to trust because, like, even if Lively's having a good game, he doesn't have the potential to get all the center minutes because Gafford, I mean, I guess yesterday Gafford only played 7 minutes, but in theory, these guys would be great GPP plays, but in reality, it's just probably too thin today.
Yeah, I think so there as well. Did you see that PJ Washington clip, though, with Max Strus in the game winner?
When he got hyped because he thought he hit the game winner, and then it's perfect.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, honestly, just look it up on Twitter. It's like a 10-second clip. PJ Washington's basically just flexing like he just won, and then Strus hits that deep three. It's a funny clip.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Oh man, he should have played defense. He shouldn't have been celebrating. That's for sure.
I mean, yeah, it should have been guarding Strus closer at the half-court mark.
You can take a guy out of Charlotte or out of the Charlotte Hornets, but you can't take the Hornets out of the guy. That's what that's
awesome.
Let's see here. So trying to get back into some questions here. Let's see. I know we had Jose kind of asking about Pelicans value. So we don't know for sure who's going to be in or out for the Pelicans. We're assuming that we're going to get some sort of value there. It's just depending on what it is, what news. If one of the big three are out, then we're just loading up on the other two. But we don't know that yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Zion is going to be my favorite guy either way. Just the assist thing is too strong for fantasy.
Yeah, and it's a high game total like it always is against the Pacers as well.
Yeah, and then as for like the other Pelicans guys, since he did ask about value, Alvarado is still out, and behind him, I really don't know. Like Jordan Hawkins' minutes are kind of weird, and he's been kind of bad. And then his price is up a little bit too. Najee Marshall is super cheap. I think if Zion's out, Najee Marshall's probably good. Especially if Trey Murphy's out, then he's going to look good there too. But other than that, I don't think we're really getting to much from this team. I mean, your boy Larry Nance is still there, but he hasn't been doing that starting the second half thing that he was before.
Yeah, it was nice when he was like at 3.9 or so, or below 4K, let's put it that way, and getting 20 minutes. And now that just hasn't been happening lately.
And it's not like Jonas is going off and playing all the minutes either. So
yeah. Let's see here. So This is for Derek Lively. Interesting that he likes Derek Lively. I don't know if you like Derek Lively. I don't think either of us would talk you off of him.
Yeah, I mean, the points per minute is good sometimes. It's just he played 16 minutes yesterday. It's a back-to-back. Maybe he plays more, but I don't know. I guess they just didn't have a need to play big yesterday, but they were going against didn't they play Cleveland?
I mean, they don't have a need to play big against Toronto either. I mean, that's just a Dallas thing to do, is just not play their centers.
Yeah, it's just like if they're not going to play big against Mobley and Jared Allen, they're not going to play big against Pirtle and Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett. And so I'd be really nervous about his minutes today.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is something. Facing his former team, Jordan Goodwin. Interesting there. Hasn't he? He's played on a lot of teams though, hasn't he? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, for some reason I think of him as a Phoenix Sun.
Me too. It must have been honestly DFS. I vividly remember loading up on him in a few slates, value wise. So
yeah,
that's why.
Looks like he played for the Wizards and then the Suns, and now he's on the Grizzlies.
Nice. Let's see here. So let's just go ahead and jump into guards. I don't think we have that many more comments or questions coming in too much, though. Chat's chatting, which is awesome. Love to see that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the guard plays for this slate. So looking at it right now, obviously we are going to get some good pay-ups at least tonight, or decent enough, I should say, between Luka, Kyrie. Those are kind of two pay-ups. We got Halliburton, who was a little bit of a disappointment in his last, I should say, a lot of bit of a
went off, and I think that's part of the reason as to why they're James Harden, Scotty Barnes, Donovan Mitchell. Like, these plays all look pretty good, and then De'Aaron Fox
cheap, as does Jamal Murray. So do you like any of those plays?
Yeah, your audio just got super weird for a second. It sounded like an old time news broadcast. I wonder if YouTube
it cut out. It was cutting in and out. I don't know.
But yeah, from the top, so Luka Doncic, so he's projected for 13 and 17%. I feel like he's definitely going to come in higher owned. He comes in higher owned than projected every day, even when he's projected for low ownership. And yesterday he came in at 5% on FanDuel, like 8% on DraftKings. Put up a just casual 80 burger against the Cavs. Back to back, we've seen it before where people are going to flock to Luka a little bit more the night after he went off on these like direct back to backs, and he performed very poorly. But I think this is still a spot we kind of just want to get over the field on Luka, and same with Jokic, the two top studs.
Yeah, this is a slate where I don't know. It seems like every slate I've done recently with the live streams, we haven't had that many great pay-ups or enough pay-ups, and tonight we have so many. So it is kind of difficult in that regard. I will say with Luka as price tag, I don't know. I have found a tough time getting to him just because of the value that's out there for the Clippers, and I would say some of the other soft pricing that we have out there. Like I still think Quickly and RJ Barrett are a little bit too cheap. I'm fine getting to them. They seem properly owned. You got a little bit of the Chicago guards as well, who are going to play heavy minutes. I like chasing that. I don't know. Have you been getting to any of those guys?
Yeah. So it does look like I'm really just mixing it up at guard. Like my top owned guys are the cheap guys, of course, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, RJ Barrett, like you just mentioned. And then I'm getting up to James Harden, Scotty Barnes, De'Aaron Fox, D'Angelo Russell quickly too. And Jordan Goodwin. So I'm really just mixing up at guard today. I'm not going heavy one way or the other.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Let's see here. So we got a couple of questions. Strus or Nembar? That's an interesting one, I will say.
I mean, Strus hit 5 threes in 2 minutes yesterday.
Yeah. I just, he's going to have a bad game tonight, right? That's how that works.
Yeah, he's going like 1 for 12 or something like that.
It's actually going to be Karis LeVert who goes off. I feel like that's just exactly what happens with the Cavs.
With Nembhard, so it's weird because I was not interested in him earlier in the season, but the last couple slates I kind of loaded up on him, and he was playing over 30 minutes. He only played 27 in the previous game, but I think he's fine. Not sure that I have a strong preference between him and Strus. I feel like Strus is going to have the higher ceiling, and both of them have a pretty bad floor, but I don't know. If you want to mix them in, I mean, I don't see any reason not to.
I'm with you there with Nembhard, though. He was much more appealing when we could accurately project him to get 30-plus minutes, and he's only projected to get 28 tonight, so don't love that. Let's see here. This is interesting. Looks like Sacramento has the Joker's number. That's interesting. I haven't noticed that. I don't know. You don't look at that stuff too much, do you? The splits?
With big men, I pay attention to it. Like for guards, I don't care at all. But like Jokic versus Demantis, I think there's a little bit there if it's, I don't know, like because we can never get a large enough sample to really, take full advantage of the data. But if it's a few games and there's a trend, then I think we can read into it a little bit. But like, don't make complete decisions based off of it, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And then that's what the previous comment was saying there as well. So got it.
Yeah, Jokic last 5 games against Sacramento, 29-11, 47-6. That's 40-7-6, 36-13, 14. Then the last 2 games he had poor games, but the 3 before that he was pretty good. So I wouldn't read into this at all.
It's Luka's birthday today. Interesting.
Happy birthday, Luka.
I do love the birthday narrative. The two that I love the most are the birthdays. Actually, there's 3. The birthdays, when someone's going to their kind of home court. Let's say I phrased that poorly. Like where they grew up, they're going to that home court and their family's going to be there for the first time. I like that narrative, but I also like, let's say, if Westbrook was playing in LA for the first time tonight, like ever since whatever, that would be another narrative I like. So I can get behind the birthday narrative.
Yeah, and also the narrative of he did not score 50, he did not have a triple-double, and he did not win the game yesterday. So he has incentive to have a 50-point triple-double and a win today.
Yeah, and just like Toronto is actually a matchup I've been liking to chase lately.
Weirdly close spread, though. 2.5 points. Isn't Dallas is like 7-2 in their last 9 games. Toronto's not good, so it's a super close spread. That's kind of weird.
It is funny with Toronto though, like they're all solid DFS options now. I feel like given their pricing, like I'm fine getting RJ Barrett, I'm fine getting Scotty Barnes quickly, Gary Trent even a little bit, Jakob Poeltl, Bruce Brown occasionally. Like just with the way they're pricing them, like even Grady Dick, like he was a very good value play on his last slate, projected to get 20 minutes again. Like I don't know. Like they're a fun DFS team. They're like, never mind. I was going to give an NFL comparison. I can't think of any.
That's too much. I can't.
It's too removed.
Much brain power right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
I do want to mention Gary Trent while we're on Toronto. Like we're definitely interested in Barrett quickly, and I like Scotty Barnes a lot as a pay up. Gary Trent, I feel like it's a guy that we kind of just ignore on this show, even though sometimes he's in a good spot. And today he's coming in sub 10%, 4,700. I think he's fine to take a couple shots on too in that mid range.
Yeah, I mean he's playing heavy minutes for sure. I don't mind that. Any love for Grady Dick though? He has been playing about 22 minutes or so. Been basically hitting value a bunch lately. So I don't know. Like got lucky. Don't get me wrong. As a play against Indy, that was very much lucky. But I don't know. Is he someone you're trying to get to at all, or have been getting to?
I saw a stat that he was shooting like 50, 40, 85 over the last whatever. And maybe that's just overall in his rookie year. He's been great. If he's going to come in at 2%, 3,800 on DraftKings, I think you just talked me into playing some Grady Dick.
Sorry if it doesn't work out. You're welcome when it does work out, though.
No, thank you.
No, it's just the minutes, though. I mean, that's the thing. It's too cheap for the minutes, I would say. He should be probably what he is on FanDuel, and then we won't really have to think about it.
Yep. Yeah, and we just got word Caruso is ruled out, and so it seems likely that Drummond starts, but, as always, still pay attention to the news just to make sure.
Does that make you want to get to AO or Kobe White even a little bit more on tonight's slate? We're looking at the ownership right now, 10%, and then maybe Javon Carter gets a few more minutes as well. But anyone that you like a little bit more other than Drummond because of that news?
So I've been over on AO for the past few slates, and I was going to be over on him today already. But it's kind of weird because I'm pretty sure his ownership came in higher than expected the last couple times. And so I don't know if someone is steaming him up or what. But he's definitely too cheap over on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. It's probably still okay with Caruso out. But the 5,500 on DraftKings I really like. I would expect his ownership to come up from this 10% that we have right now, though.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned earlier that I like getting to Chicago guards just because they're heavy minutes. It's more of it should be a safety thing. Now I know the matchup isn't the best, but like a bad night for AO was 29 fantasy score last night. So that's that to me is appealing tonight with Caruso out as well. And he had 2 turnovers there as well. So
it's so funny that you mentioned a 29 fantasy points for AO is a bad game. This dude put up 0 stats in 30 minutes in a game earlier this season, and now it's like I'm just jamming him in at 5,500. It's like funny how quickly it turns.
Right? No, that's a very good point there. I'm curious to see if Carter gets a little bit more run here, or Terry, if one of those two get a little bit more projected run. Just because, I don't know, if you haven't noticed, I've ended up needing to get to sub 4K plays tonight. So that's where I'm trying to find one.
It's a little thin even for me. I'll have to see how it looks. I think we have enough guys in this 5K range, and even if we're getting up to one of Luke, like if I have Luka and Zion in my top lineup, I'm still able to fit in. Like I have Lamar Stevens in there, but most of these guys are. I don't have anyone under 4K in that lineup. So
fair. Let's see here. So let's actually go ahead and pivot on into the small forwards and power forwards on tonight's slate. And so with that, looking at the ownership for it, Norman Powell, that's kind of the easy play. And so let's just touch on that a little bit more. But I also you mentioned Lamar Stevens. I want to get your thoughts on him as well.
Yeah, Lamar Stevens, I was going to mention him when we were talking about centers, but he has power forward eligibility, so figured forward would be better. But it just seems like an easy play that's kind of going a little bit overlooked on the Grizzlies. I mean, he's been putting up really good numbers playing, I don't know, 23, 16, 29, 20, 26 in the last few games. And so, I don't know, I just think he looks pretty good. I want to be over the field on him.
Is that one of those spots where you're kind of saying, all right, the data hasn't caught up on it just yet because, well, it's Memphis. We saw this a lot earlier on in the season where we were just crushing the ownerships on a play like Lamar Stevens because the data, for whatever reason, and Memphis, it makes sense. They're moving around their lineup a lot. It makes sense. Is that just one of those things where you're saying that the data that, industry wide hasn't caught up on that yet?
Yeah. Well, one thing too is it's only a 12.5 point spread against Minnesota, and that feels kind of tight, right? Minnesota is really good, and Memphis they have 2 NBA players right now, Jaren Jackson and Vince Williams. So
yeah,
I feel like I want to be a little bit over on Memphis, and it's kind of dumb because none of these guys at their prices right now are like outstanding values. Like Vince Williams is fine, JJJ is fine, of course. GG Jackson keeps showing up in my lineups and killing me every time I play him. I don't know why I still play him, but yeah, I don't know. Lamar Stevens just seems like a pretty safe play who has a little bit of a ceiling too.
He played for Cleveland, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And it's weird how like players will switch teams and kind of become a different player because I would have never thought about playing him DFS wise when he was with Cleveland.
Yeah, he came from Boston this season, but it sounds right that he was on Cleveland before that.
I'm pretty sure. But another one of those is like Utah. Like he used to be like a min price play that we could play a little bit. It's just weird what's going on with Memphis. And to your point, like I get a matchup thing, but no one really feels too much in play. Like Jaren Jackson has price tag. Sure, people are going to click that, but data wise, doesn't really like him today as well.
Yeah, it's a GPP guy.
Yeah. And so just looking at the best value that we have, Bennett Mathurin is one that's popping up in there. Had a very awesome game last game in terms of small forward, power forward plays. Project to get 35 minutes, but no one is on him right now. Do we know what's going on there? Why is no one on him? Are they expecting regression? Are you on him? Kind of what are your thoughts on him tonight?
Well, for me, he's played 39, 33, 35 minutes over the last 3 games, and the only reason I wasn't playing Benedict Mathurin before was because he wasn't getting the minutes. I mean, the last 2 times he played 30 minutes back at the beginning of February, end of January, he put up 39 and 46 fantasy points. The last 3 games, 60, 43, 32. It might just be like a sticker shock thing where people aren't used to seeing above 6K, so it's hard to click on. And like you just mentioned, the data isn't really catching up. I mean, what do we have him projected for minutes-wise? 35?
35.
Like at 35 minutes, I'm pretty sure that's going to be higher than the rest of the industry. I think we kind of jam him in today, right?
It feels like it. Honestly, like at the start of the season, if you would have told me that he was projected at 35 minutes and he was 6.2, I would have been like, oh, he's chalk. Like he's someone that everyone is playing. I think it's just, I don't know. Like it's the NBA. there's weird stretches, and I think we're just in a kind of what I expected from him, I guess, at the beginning of the season when, if he was going to get minutes, I was going to be on him. And so I don't know. I'm surprised at the 0%.
It's like the upside just outweighs the downside so hard. I mean, the upside is apparently 60 fantasy points, and the downside is, I don't know, like 26, 23?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to kill you. It's just, I don't know. I, for no reason other than just looking at the previous box scores, have some confidence he's probably going to play 30-plus minutes tonight, just because he has been and he's been doing well. And we're playing Pelicans, and so it makes sense to run it back with a pacer, and I don't love any other pacer besides him. So,
and this seems like a active thing that they have done since the All-Star break, and that's another thing where I for whatever reason, it just seems like, all right, we need to get him more minutes.
He has been playing well in those minutes too, though, and so I'm wondering, like, how short of a leash is it? Because we know he has a short leash, and so if he starts the first quarter playing poorly, does he just lose a complete rotation? Like, I don't think so. But I'm not going to try to read Carlisle. It's one of the toughest. Yeah. Carlisle and the Pacers.
Man.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter. But Mathurin seems like a phenomenal play at 8% on DraftKings, even 15% on FanDuel seems great.
Basement to play. And I don't get what keeps going on with my link. Jeez.
It's a 1960s radio broadcast. Okay. Well,
let me just switch slides, maybe. Okay, I think we're good. Aaron Naismith, though, I think he just got confirmed out. So maybe that'll shift his ownership. Some people are probably waiting on that news. And so maybe that shifts up the ownership. He's missing another game here, and we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I wonder if that 35 minutes is real then, if the model's still crunching the numbers. Still has him at 35. Maybe.
Yeah, he's played those minutes.
Man.
So with that, let's get back into some questions here. So we got Peter B saying that's just too much for Mathurin. It's like, good. I want that to be the opinion today. Memphis has cheap pivots to get off the chalk. Sure. But do they offer like GPP winning upside?
They do. It's just a matter of how often is it going to come true, Yeah. Like, it's possible. Anything's possible in NBA DFS. We've seen some stuff, man.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It's tough. They're just so bad, and Minnesota's really good.
Mm-hmm. And then I did just see Nick's comment here as well. So, yes, still catching up, but I would argue this is still too low. Like, what would you say would be correct? 20 tonight?
For Mathurin?
Yeah.
I'm playing like 50, so I don't know. 20 is probably correct. I don't know if he gets steamed up because he's been playing so well lately. Like, are we surprised if he comes in at 30%?
No. But anything more than that would be a little bit shocking.
And on that note, too, with him being too expensive, it's like, so we're paying, what, 5,500 for Mathurin when we were expecting 25, 26 minutes, and we're projecting an extra 9 or 10 minutes, and we're paying less than $1,000 more for those extra 10 minutes. So I think he's actually rather cheap. It's just, he does have the minutes volatility, but this seems like a really good GPP play. Just please play 35 minutes tonight.
He's going to get an insta foul trouble for sure now. That's what's going to happen. And he's going to, on a point per minute basis, he's going to crush. We'll get into it first, like Bill did, but first let's answer Chris's question here. So Harden, Kawhi, and AD game stack. We kind of mentioned that at the top. It seems like a good idea. What do you like those three specifically?
I don't know. It's tough. Like, there's 6 games on this slate, and to restrict your 3 stars, because you're going cheap at every other position if you're fitting all 3 of those guys in. I don't know. I think you're just kind of ignoring a lot of other good stuff on the slate. I'm not going to set a rule for that, so I think I've reserved 60 lineups today. If a couple of them end up with those 3, I don't mind it. But it just seems like a lot of salary to go to that game. And then if you're playing the chalk from the other games, especially like Drummond and Goodwin, then I don't know. It's probably just not that unique of a lineup. Probably okay for small field, but for large field, I'm not sure I'm into it.
Yeah, fair. We got a question about Siakam as well. So playing him tonight, because of I don't think we need to play him because we're playing Matherin. I don't think that's something we need to do. He is low owned. Maybe that's what you're asking there, like because he's low owned. Everyone's kind of low owned though for the Pacers right now. He's fine. I don't know. Do you like him, Siakam, tonight?
I'm always fine with him as a GPP play if he shows up a few percent, but it's different from Matherin because Pascal's situation hasn't changed from the last few games. Like Matherin's situation has changed. We think it's changed anyway with the extra minutes. Like Pascal is going to play the same minutes he's always been playing. We're just hoping Matherin plays these new extra minutes that he's been getting. So that's why we're so interested in him. That's why I am anyway.
Yeah. And then have you gotten to Toppin at all as well? He's kind of getting some ownership, 12%.
Another guy I play too much of every day. I'm getting a few percent today. Just cheap GPP shot, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine. Need an update on the New Orleans players. So interestingly enough, this slate does lock a half an hour later. So with that, we're going to end the live stream here shortly. We're going to have a half an hour off, and then one of us is going to be in the Discord chat discussing everything about this slate. So be on the lookout for that. As a lot of you guys know, link to that is in the description below. We should have that news before lineup lock. The data will also update, obviously, once we get that news confirmed. It's an early game, so we're going to get that. We're going to know what to do.
And remember, guys, if you want to see the data post-stream, sign up for OccupyFantasy.com. $7 a week. It's $1 a day. Helps you win.
Just boom, right there. It's just right in your face. Not too much, though. It's very subtle. It's in a good way.
The 3 Pelicans guys are all in.
They are?
Yeah, so didn't give an update on Trey Murphy, though. It's still going to affect a little bit. Not as interested in Zion, but these are still like star players going against the Pacers, and we still like that. So
what's weird is, like, I would argue they are still all too cheap, which with the Q tags and with some of them sitting out, I'm kind of surprised that has happened. I don't know. I'd be fine still playing them. Like, that doesn't change that much for me. I still think McCollum's a good play. Still think Zion's a good play. Still think Ingram's a good play. We just don't need to play 2 of them because one of them's out.
Yeah, I agree. I think I still prefer Zion as the top play. The model has Brandon Ingram by a hair over Zion, so something to keep in mind. He's coming in for less ownership on DraftKings too. And then CJ feels like the odd man out. I think we have too many other good plays at guard today.
Yeah, fair. So this is actually a good question. This will kind of get us into, I think, the first look build a little bit. Are you fine playing Harden and Kawhi in the same lineup?
I think so. It's one of those things where I don't want to set a rule to play max one of these guys because I do want it possible that they're together. But I don't know. If you're hand building and you're playing both of them, like, I think it makes sense to get a Lakers run back. It's not mandatory, but I mean, just scrolling through, I'm not really getting both of them together. I'm getting a lot like James Harden with Norman Powell, Kawhi with Powell and Terrence Mann. I am getting a couple with like D. Russ, Kawhi, James Harden just naturally. But I don't think I would set the rule because the thing is they're slightly too cheap with Paul George out, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't think we mind playing them both together. It opens up their ceilings a little bit more, or the potential to hit like a big multiplier on their salary.
So which of the Clippers do you want to put into a first look build? Are we just eating the chalk on Powell and a little bit of Harden and Zubac, or kind of, I guess, how would you prioritize the Clippers in terms of like a first look build?
Norman Powell, I think, is pretty close to a lock for this anyway.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting Kawhi second, and I think that's just, like I just mentioned, like I think there's too many other good guard plays where there's not as many good forward plays, so that's why I'm getting more Kawhi than Harden, but I have them very similar, so it's just like it's because of the lineup construction, not because I like Kawhi more than Harden that much.
I will say I do like Harden a little bit more tonight, but to your point, like there's better guards or just as good a guards. So I agree. I like that approach.
Yeah, in a vacuum, I think I like Harden better too. It's just it's hard to do it today.
Yeah. So with that, we got Matherin, Powell, Kawhi. I put Matherin in there just, and then Drummond. Are we just seeing the chalk on Drummond? And what about Goodwin?
I think so, because assuming that Drummond starts, which it looks like he's going to, he's just too good of a fantasy point per minute guy. And if they're starting him, they're going to run him. Played 28 yesterday. Played 28 against Cleveland the last time they came out. Had 33 fantasy points. I think we just play him. He's too cheap.
Yep. And then Jordan Goodwin. I guess we do want to see if we get the news to see if he's going to start, because this could be one that definitely blows up in people's faces. But chances are he will. I mean, could be Vince Williams, I guess, running point. I just don't see that happening. If he starts, and we hopefully will get that news, is he a must play?
I don't think he's a must play, but he's a very good play as long as he starts. I still don't think he's like a lock though, but definitely a good play and a guy who I'm gonna have a ton of.
Are you fine with me putting him in the first build?
Yeah.
Okay. So then from there, we got a lot of salary left over, 7K. We got a guard, forward, and utility spot left over. A lot of flexibility there. So you've been saying you like a lot of guards. Is there one that you would want to prioritize for a first look build?
Can we play Luka?
Yeah, we can try to play Luka. Let's try to make that work.
Yeah, I think Luka or Scotty Barnes are the two guys that I'd be interested in fitting in the most.
I think that's fair. So what I'm going to do, because we're kind of strapped for salary, I'm going to do about 5.3 on average to see maybe what are the best value plays we could roll with. Terrence Mann is one of them. KCP, McDaniels, Toppin. Do you like any of those ones, or is there a different route that we should go?
I think I like KCP.
Yeah.
Was he high on the model? Was
he wasn't that high in the model, but he is kind of high owned. So value-wise, he's kind of down there. Like Kevin Huerter is much lower owned and a better value.
Yeah, with KCP this low on the model, I'll look for any reason to fade KCP, especially when he's coming in 20% owned on both sides. So I'm probably off him tonight.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What about, we could maybe try to get to AO. He's someone that we mentioned we liked.
I like AO a lot. I was thinking about Terrence Mann because like similar to that Harden and Kawhi in the same lineup, like Terrence Mann and Norman Powell, I think they're too cheap that we're not really worried about it playing them together.
Let's do that. And then we have 4.7 left over then. And let's see, Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams. We could take a dart throw on one of those. Your guy, Lamar Stevens, would be kind of fine with that. Really not terrible. I will say we probably didn't talk about Kyle Anderson being out enough for maybe some of the other, maybe Reed gets a little bit more run there. Maybe McDaniels or Alexander Walker. I do think there's a path where one of them are good. It's just a guessing game there.
Just like looking through my Minnesota exposure, I'm getting to Anthony Edwards, and that's it. I tried to force in a little Mike Conley, but usually like him at this price, but it's just not necessary today. With Slow-Mo out, I don't think I really like anyone off the bench anymore. So probably just give a slight boost to Anthony Edwards, assuming he's good to go.
Just while we're on Minnesota, before we end it here, I will say if Rudy Gobert is active, assuming he is, he just feels too cheap as well. Like going against Memphis, like he should be able to crush.
Yes. Yep. He's been doing very well recently. So him too. Kind of glossed over him when we're talking about centers, but
yeah. Well, it's Q tag. It's easy for that to happen. Any closing thoughts for the slate?
No.
It is weird because like we're an hour before lineup lock rather than a half an hour before lineup lock. So really, I think we should just defer to the Discord chat with those kind of closing thoughts because, well, we don't have a lot of the news that we would want to have it. Other than that, it's kind of straightforward. I feel like we kind of touched on the plays we want to be on in the slate pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the chalk in general is pretty good today. Strong chalk. I'm just going to eat it. A lot of times I want to get away from at least someone. Don't really want to get away from anyone here.
I mean, we mentioned Goodwin potentially, but we'll see.
Yeah, like he's projected for 35% ownership. As of like my pre-stream build, I had 10%. So maybe I'll come up on him a little bit. But other than him, I'm basically with the field or above the field on the rest of the chalk. So
yeah, fair. All right, that's going to do it, guys. Again, Discord chat is going to be going live here in about 23 minutes. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Being here for the live stream again tomorrow. And with the video closing a little bit earlier, if you guys are just joining us, go back and rewatch it from the start. Got a lot of tidbits in there for you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.